What's up, people? Hotep Jesus. We back with another sharp conversation with Hotep Jesus. What's good, people? It's Friday night. Hope you're feeling good. Hope you're feeling great. Got a wonderful conversation lined up for you today. Before we do that, let's pay the bills. This month's podcast is sponsored by Syscoin. Syscoin is the best of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Got the security of Bitcoin, the flexibility of Ethereum. Go check them out. If Bitcoin and Ethereum had a baby, it'd be Syscoin. Go check out Syscoin right now. Especially if you're a developer, check out that blockchain technology. Very, very interesting stuff over there. Also, Hotep Nation Conference, HotepCon 2022, is here August 11th to the 13th. Go get your tickets, hotepnation.com. Great food, great time. We're going to shoot some guns. We're going to shoot the shit. We're going to have fun. We're going to meld minds and have a great, great time. But without further ado, I present to you our guest today, Mr. Ben Armstrong, Bitboy. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just, hanging out, got some work done today and, ready for Memorial Day weekend, taking Monday off. So, getting ready for a little bit of a rest,
When you say got work done today, what kind of work are you doing?
So today I went and did an interview with Reese Radio that gets syndicated to a lot of different radio stations and news channels across the country. I went and did that interview. Is a guy that I met. He does a lot of philanthropic work. That's what he does. He helps people. That's the long and the short of it. So did that and then came back and we're working on some crypto predictions for what's going on with Bitcoin, because right now we're in a bear market, prices dropping. People want the hope. So we're trying to look at when we think Bitcoin's going to, start heading back towards all-time highs based on history. We got some dates. People are going to like them though.
Aren't we heading to new lows first?
I think so. I think we are. I think there can certainly be an argument made that, 24.5 or 25.5 was the bottom, but we're not seeing a lot of positive momentum with the volume for Bitcoin right now. And it's at 28,000. So without a lot of strength right here, it seems to be pretty obvious that we're going to head down a little bit further. I think the number to really look out for is somewhere in between $10,300 is at 85% drawdown. Historically, we get 85% drawdowns in bear markets. So, but that number seems a little bit low considering the 2017 all-time high of $19,000 to $20,000. The 200-week moving average is at like $22,000. So I think somewhere in between 10,000 and 300, 22,000. I think we're probably going to get a black swan event of some type, whether it's a catastrophic inflation report or whether it's the Fed, admitting that right now what they're doing isn't working, or whether it's something to do with, the war overseas right now, food shortages. There has never been more things that we could point to and say, oh, if that one thing breaks, then, the economy is going to be in even bigger trouble. Stock market collapse. We've never had so many active things. That's the crazy thing about the pandemic was it came out of nowhere. This you're seeing so much around the world. And if we get some big move, then yeah, Bitcoin's going to drop down initially with it before recovering faster than, the rest of the market, which is what it generally does.
Can you slide to your left for me?
What's that?
Can you slide to your left?
Oh, to my left.
Yeah.
That left?
Yeah, a little bit more.
A little bit more. There?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Said a mouthful there. We got inflation, we got food shortages, we got the pandemic. The government or Biden or whoever controls him has informed us that inflation and gas prices have been blamed on Russia. And I think Biden one time said consumer price index or the prices of things were up because car prices were up.
Whatever they can say, whatever BS comes out of their mouths, you just can't believe it. It's really comical to watch them. It's like if you're watching a football team, like an NFL team, and they just got beat like 48-0. And then the coach comes out at the press conference. They're like, well, I know the score is bad, but, we fought really hard today. And, we made some plays and we're just that much off. Like, no, you got to be 48-0. There's nothing redeeming about that. Like the president right now can't say anything that's going to make anyone believe. I mean, he's got approval ratings like 36%. Like nobody believes anything that he says. And the fact that he still comes out and even tries to rationalize or try to justify, people are, they're just not having it. Like, we're starting to see through the veil a little bit right now, not just for the president, but really for the way our economy is ran by the Fed as well.
Who do you think is to blame for inflation that we're experiencing right now? Is it the Fed? Is it Russia? Is it something else? Who would you say is the or what are the causes of inflation right now?
Well, the cause of inflation is the money printing. Like, it's pretty simple. It's supply and demand. Like, if I go to a deserted island and there's 100 of us on the island and we all have $100, then there's like $10,000 on the island, right? So things have a certain cost. Well, if all of a sudden we just double the amount of money that's in there, the same amount of value is available on the island. So now we're going to pay twice as much because the money's worth half as much. When you print 70% of all dollars in existence in the last 3 to 4 years, there's no way inflation will not absolutely take over. The person who I blame the most, though, is Jerome Powell from the Fed. I mean, this should have been, they should have been already raising rates last year. The economy in the United States has been doing great. If you take out like the 2 initial months after the pandemic, or 2 initial quarters after the pandemic, people have been doing fantastic. People have had jobs. People have had disposable income. They were printing the money. Stocks were going up. Meme coins were doing this. And, the fact is, Jerome Powell liked that the economy was doing well. It was reflecting well on him. And he refused to make the decision to raise the rates when he needed to. And now it's gotten so out of control that there's no way for him to fix it without destroying the economy. The fact that this guy has a job, he just got voted in again, it blows my mind. Just, the biggest snakes in the government, are the ones that aren't elected. You can't get rid of those people.
Yeah, it seems like they did the opposite, right? It seems like, when the economy's doing good, you should raise interest rates. And when it's doing bad, you should lower them.
Right.
But they're doing the exact opposite. The economy's doing bad. And they're like, oh, let's raise interest rates. Right? Obviously, because they're trying to shrink the money supply. But I think, you're right. Maybe there's a timing piece that's missing there, right?
Well, it's what I've talked about a lot on the channel is the long tail problem of inflation versus the short tail problem of recession, right? There's no way they could curb the longer tail problem without also exacerbating the shorter tail problem, which is recession, economy crashing. They just tried to put it off as long as they possibly could have done it. Because the tech stocks are all, a giant Ponzi scheme, really. The only reason Tesla and the only reason that Apple and the only reason that Alphabet were going up so much is because money was just getting poured in there that was getting printed. There was no more value really being created by these companies during this time, like during the last few years. Like, if you look at Apple, I think we look back and say, like, Apple's heyday was probably, maybe 10 years ago. Like, people are now using more Androids. The Apple price is continuing to go up. It doesn't really make sense. If there's a direct correlation between the money printed and the tech stock prices in general. Now, I'm using Apple, for example. I don't follow stocks that closely, so I don't know exactly the movements Apple's been making lately, but it's only inflation putting money into the economy that's been raising things. And to me, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And that's what the government wants. That's what the Fed wants. They want the great economy, but they want to print money at will. And the pandemic gave them the greatest excuse ever to really ramp up that money printing and pad their own pockets. I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi and her insider trading money and plenty of others. She's the first one that comes to mind. They're taking advantage of this as well. They knew the money with printing was coming. They knew the pandemic, there was like 6 senators and, being accused of insider trading around the pandemic from, getting information before everything actually happened and selling stocks and buying other stocks. This is a government Ponzi scheme for not the government, but for the individuals that are supposed to be civil servants who are actually just money grubbing, greedy folks trying to get as much money as they can in their pockets. They don't care what it does to the economy. You think Nancy Pelosi cares? She's leaving. She's out after this election. She doesn't care what happens to the U.S. economy after she leaves. She doesn't care what happens to the stock market. That's why she said, hey, I'm all for getting rid of, trading for senators now. Like, yeah, because you're leaving. You already made all your money. So I think it's just one of these things where it's really disgusting what level our government has allowed us to get to, because people are getting hurt. The government is not hurt. People are getting hurt by this, and it's about to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Who do you trust more? Billionaires or politicians?
Oh, God, they're the same now. Like that's the interesting thing about it, it is because the politicians are in the pockets of the technocrats. Right. That's what's going on here is you've got Zuckerberg and all of, the people of that ilk. They think they know what's best. They use all their money to prop up the politicians and pay them off. And so they're really one and the same. We used to have this, kind of world where you had these rich people in the United States that were not like, you always used to assume if someone had a lot of money that they were conservative, right? The phrase I heard when I was a kid was, if you're not a Democrat when you're young, you don't have a heart. If you're not a Republican when you're older, you don't have a brain, And so the economics of it don't really make sense why you would want to pay more taxes if you have all this money. But somewhere along the line, what's happened is the most rich people in this country have realized, you know what? I don't care about my individual stack of money that I'm giving to the government. What I care about is the control and being able to stay at this like elite status. And that's where things have gotten really murky because the politicians are protecting the technocrats and the technocrats are fueling, the American government system. The technocracy is what I call it. That's where we might be heading one day if we're not careful, where all of your politicians are basically on the payroll of these tech companies. Zuckerberg wanted to create his own currency, like he wanted to rule the world. That got shut down quickly, thankfully. But there's always somebody waiting in the wings to be the next person to want to take that over. Elon Musk, right? Like, I can't make heads or tails of this guy. I can't ever decide if he's a good guy or a bad guy. And it's very interesting because, a lot of times the people that mean the most harm are the ones that are out there saying they're doing the most good and wanting to help. So it's just hard to know what his motives are. It's hard for us as normal people to understand the mind of a billionaire. The mind of a politician, you get it. You're like, oh, you're just greedy and you want power. But the billionaire is a little more complicated because they've done a lot of great things. And there's other things they've done that, might be controversial, but overall they've won a lot in life. And, it's just hard to relate to somebody who can just go buy a, $100 million yacht just like that. So.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards, I think I would trust a billionaire more than a politician. Mostly because I think the billionaire is more predictable. The politician I find to be sleazy, underhanded, slithering, fickle, manipulative, manipulatable. Whereas the billionaire, it's like, well, if I propose the right agreement, contract, business resolution, we might be able to get somewhere. Whereas the politician, well, the politician's just trying to win the next election. Right? Yeah. And that's like their only motive. It's like, oh, I got to get the next election. Right. And the other thing is, I find that a billionaire is probably more honest. It's going to tell you outright, look, I'm trying to decrease the world population. Right.
Well, they say that stuff and then they got clips of it. And then YouTube says, no, that didn't happen. Debunked. That's not true.
Exactly. Right. So the billionaire, he's going to come out and tell you. The politician, it's like, you never know what you're going to get from this guy. He'll lie and just scheme or whatever. And they're all puppets of the billionaires. So I'm like, I'd rather communicate with the billionaires because at least I'm dealing with the puppet master, not the puppet itself.
Well, the billionaires are trying to make a profit somewhere along the line. The politicians, they're supposed to be civil servants doing the work for us as the American people. Allegedly. Mm-hmm. And obviously at least 90% on the federal level. Now, state level politicians, I've worked with a lot of those. Yeah. State level politicians, totally different. Right. Federal level, once you get to that point, what are you like? What is your goal? They're not help. Well, you think Elizabeth Warren is out here to help us? Like you think Ted Cruz flip-flopping on every single thing under the sun? Like you think he's out there to help us? All they're for is political gain. And that's such an ambiguous category of what that means. It's hard to ever really know what their motives are. You can look at their net worths before and after they leave Congress or the Senate and know, at least somewhere along the line, they're getting paid for stuff, but it's hard to track those money trails, even know where that's coming from.
How do you feel about electric cars and gas cars? Are you one of those people that believe that we need to go towards electric vehicles and less gas motor vehicles?
I am not an electric car fan. I drive a Dodge Demon. I like a nice, powerful engine. I like that. I love the roar of it. I hate that a lot of the cars are moving towards hybrids and stuff like that, because it's just a time that I know, regardless if it's good for the environment or not, like that's a separate issue. Like as a person who wants to drive a vehicle, I enjoy driving gas powered cars. And I'm thinking of myself as Will Smith and iRobot. I think it is like he's the last person that still manually drives a vehicle to work in that movie because he just refused to switch over to what everybody else was switching over to. I feel like that's me. Like I'm going to still have my gas vehicle as long as they'll let me have it. So I think that, when it comes to the environment, like that's the reason to go towards it, to get away from dependence on other countries and their oil. But, we have oil all over the United States. We don't use. We had pipelines, that we built that or were in development that, don't get use. And yet we're dependent on all these other countries. And I think really when it comes to issues like this, I think we just have to be more common sense in the United States about what's good and bad for us as a country. Like, would it be worse for us to run through some oil that we have in the United States? Or is it worse on us to get in a spot where now you've got people that can barely afford food and now they're having to pay $6 a gallon? And the logic and common sense does not prevail in this age and, where we're at today. So anything they can do to try to make themselves look good, like, hey, we're moving towards electric, but what's really the plan there? Like over time, you're just developing more regulation for the car industry, but you're still not dealing with the issue of like people at this point still have to choose that those are the kind of vehicles they want. And outside of Tesla, and maybe a few others, they haven't really done a good job of convincing, I feel like, most people that, that's where they should be going to.
Did you hear about the dude who has the water engine?
I did. Wait, didn't this guy, like, somebody threatened him or something?
No. So this was the, he's 6 feet under dirt right now. Okay?
Oh, he's dead. Okay.
He's dead. Yeah. He was a victim last week of the Buffalo shooting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was,
so sad.
I think he was one of the security guys. And they pulled up, I think it was 2015 YouTube video clip where he's engineered, and it looks like a Ford F-150, some sort of pickup, and it's running off of water. So
the 350-pound football player who did the chat on the tarmac book about Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton, and 350-pound lineman hung himself with a dog leash while his family was out on Saturday morning. People ain't gonna hang themselves,
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a concern. I think you got to lay low when you create kind of technology like that. But I think when I look at technology, I just think of we're behind, not ahead. Because so many people have been railroaded. Like the original Tesla, completely railroaded. This career is railroaded. And it's railroaded out of greed, right? Some people are like, oh, it's those greedy capitalists. Yeah, but the capitalists use government to get the head start, or to create a gap, create a barrier between you and the ability. So you start outlawing things and whatnot. But Tesla was talking about how easy it was to generate electricity and power and whatnot. And I just feel like technology, we're behind and we're not ahead. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
I guess it really just depends on which specific niche you're talking about. I think there are certain areas in the United States where, we are ahead, and there's some if you look at medical,
we're ahead.
If you look at medicine and you
medicine?
look at, let me say, medical innovation, like that's what thrives here in the United States. We're a all of the countries around the world, they send their best people over here to the United States to get the medical education over here. You know, there's a reason for that, because we have
World War II.
Well, if you think about it, back to capitalism, like we have a different kind of healthcare system than a lot of other countries have, which I argue is actually one of our greatest strengths, because, yes, you have to pay for things here. And also, like, people around the world don't understand, if you go to the emergency room and you have no money and no insurance, you're getting treated. Like, it's not like there's all these people in America that just don't have money to afford healthcare and we're all walking around with limps and stuff like that. Like, that's not how it works. But because of the ability for doctors to charge, certain amounts of money for the stuff that they do, they can charge more, and that creates more, more innovation and kind of a race to create the most, advanced cures or advanced treatments and things like that. And plus, in America, we spend tons of money on healthcare. If somebody gets a terrible disease, like in America, a lot of people will go to extremes to find whether it's alternate ways of treatment. And I do think that when it comes to, medicine, medical innovation, I feel like we are ahead. And the people that come here get the training, then they go back to their own countries. They can innovate in their countries. But so ultimately, it kind of started here. And I think if you were to move America over to a completely public healthcare system, like, all these people in Europe who complain about all their wait times, but yet they really want us to force, socialism down our throats. That is just not going to work here, I don't think, because if you look at California, for instance, with their overpopulation, you move to a public healthcare system, no one will ever get seen for anything. You hear all these horror stories, like from Canada, where you want a surgery, but you can't pay to get it done faster. The government pays for it. So you've got to wait like a year and a half to get a surgery. You got people that die waiting on surgeries, in other countries. So that's one area. You definitely look at, stuff like, vehicles, like there are certainly, Japanese car manufacturers have been doing phenomenal for a while. Obviously, Europe has a lot of stuff. They're experimenting with a lot of Internet of Things connectivity with cars over there. So, yeah, that's a question I've never really broke down. I don't know what are we the best at?
Well,
make great baseball bats.
I look at this medical system we have, and you say it's ahead. I'm like, okay, it's ahead of the world because we've destroyed the rest of the world, right? So, America is, in my opinion, not ahead. It's behind its potential. It's behind human potential. Okay. It's ahead of the rest of the world because, the banking powers have done a great job creating this balance of power across the globe, especially across the Western world. China's been playing catch up for the past 100 years. When I look at something like the medical industry, I think of that as definitely being behind. When we look at things like cancer and AIDS and HIV and these things that they call vacations that you inject in your arm, all of these things I see as rudimentary at best.
Well, but you're talking about the difference between what's actually happening and then what they're doing on purpose, So, I mean, just imagine, and God forbid, I just found out my dad has lung cancer. Found out. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's been like pretty crazy. I haven't even talked about it on the channel yet, but found this out about 6 weeks ago, and he just started radiation. He did 1 week of radiation, and now he's got like chemotherapy next week. It's a big ordeal. And, so I'm going to talk about cancer, understanding that I have one of the closest people in the world to me who's going through it right now. So I'm not trying to diminish it, but like, how much money do you think goes away if they pull out the cure for cancer tomorrow?
Exactly. That's why I say I think we've been stunted because of things.
I think we're on the same we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah. We definitely are. As far as tech is concerned, I would say Israel's ahead of everybody. I think the only thing United States has that's probably advanced technology is whatever comes out of DARPA.
Yeah.
But when I look at some of the tech projects that are being born in the world, just as far as maybe SaaS or, for example, Israel has a really awesome desalination technology. They're taking salt water and making it drinkable water. It's something that you have to do in the region that they live in, right? But I see Israel as being a leader in technology, and the United States not so much. And also a lot of the VC money is coming out of Israel and funding a lot of these projects. I think the only thing the United States really has is DARPA. and Tesla.
Yeah. Well, Bitcoin mining now. That's the new innovation coming.
Is that?
Yeah. Well, we yesterday, we're doing a documentary. So I live in Atlanta and a little bit north. And I found out, I was like going through Bitcoin Magazine's website, and they had an article just about a few months ago, and it was the state by state breakdown of hash rate in the United States. Georgia has over 33% of all the hash rate in the United States. And I was like, what? I had no idea this was going on. So we started doing some research, and we found out there's a company called CleanSpark. They just opened 2 really big mining facilities here in the Atlanta area. And we went and toured them yesterday, where we went one yesterday and one today. And, like one is cooled with fans. The other one is cooled with these big tanks of mineral oil. They keep the ASICs under there, and it's really cool to see. But I do think that that's, with what's going on in Texas and like you mentioned, Tesla, Bitcoin mining innovation in the United States is going to spur on an entire field of, environmental companies that are going to be able to use all the renewable energy sources that Bitcoin is kind of discovering. Like Bitcoin is actually opening up the door. So the irony of people saying it's bad for the environment, Bitcoin's the thing that can save the environment in all reality, because until we had this pressure of this extremely high value network where people are complaining about this and that, but they don't want to turn their air conditioners off. Now there's this pressure where if Bitcoin doesn't find a better way to be more efficient, the politicians and the environmentalists, they're going to go insane, and they're going to try to force Bitcoin to change to prove a stake. And the Bitcoin miners are innovating. They're finding these new ways to do it. So that was what was really interesting about CleanSpark, is that it was an environmental company. It wasn't a Bitcoin mining company. And they actually discovered through all their research of the environment, like, oh, no, Bitcoin mining is what we need. We need this to get the innovation. So I use it a little tongue in cheek, but not really. I mean, I do think Bitcoin mining innovation in the United States is something that we're about to see a lot more of. We're seeing it in Texas. They're burning off oil in oil fields to create renewable energy sources. So, that is an area to watch for sure.
That's interesting. Let's say you're in an elevator with a boomer, and they're like, what is this Bitcoin crypto thing? How do you explain that to a noob? In, elevator pitch style, they're getting off, on the next floor. So how do you just succinctly explain it to somebody?
So the simplest questions in crypto are the hardest to answer, because we tend, like those of us who have been in the space, we know so much about crypto. It's really hard to isolate the small piece of information that the regular person can digest and say, that's the takeaway. What I say about Bitcoin is when someone will ask me, and I'll just have a second, it started out as digital money, but it's really become digital gold. And when you have this conversation of explaining digital gold to someone, they can grasp it a little bit better than a payments network that's using all these computers all over the world.
Digital gold.
Gold
is how you explain Bitcoin.
Yes, okay. But you have to start out by saying, now listen, Bitcoin originally was supposed to be a currency, cryptocurrency, peer-to-peer. Right. But over time, people realized that the biggest value of holding Bitcoin is holding on to Bitcoin. So why would you ever use something as a currency that appreciates in value? Our dollar depreciates, so it makes sense to spend it. If it's appreciating, then every dollar you hold on to is worth more down the road. And that is a concept that your boomers understand, because they've invested in gold and they've invested in bonds and they've invested in safer investment vehicles. One of the things I hate the most about the history of crypto is the popularization of the word cryptocurrency, because the compound word there, including currency at the end, hardly anything on CoinMarketCap is trying to be a currency, right? Ethereum's not trying to be a currency. Now, you can make an argument that the gas, somehow the gas fee is a currency, but it's not trying to be that. You're trying to get a stake in the network. And so if we were to just remove the word currency, that's why I don't say cryptocurrency. I say crypto, like almost exclusively, because that is the thing that confuses people so much. When you explain Bitcoin as an asset that you hold on to, and why is it worth more? Well, they're never making any more. There's only a very small amount still left to come into circulation. Like, imagine if out of all the gold in the world, we had already mined 19 21sts of all the gold in the world. Like imagine how much that remaining gold is worth. And those are concepts that people can really grasp onto, trying to understand and explain exactly how a blockchain ledger works. Or, God forbid, you say Bitcoin mining and they're done. They're over. You just say Bitcoin mining and they're like, that's it. That's the word. I don't know what that is. I don't want to know, it's too complicated for me. It's too technical. And so that's why I really try to break it down in that term for people so they understand, what Bitcoin is today. Now, it didn't start out as this, but today it is digital gold. So, and then of course, depending on how the conversation goes, if it gets a little bit deeper, like one day, maybe it can be a reserve currency. It can move back to that. But right now we got to deal with the reality of where things are at today. And these people want to know why people are investing in it, and explaining it as gold is a good way to do that.
So, all right. So this individual's like, all right, cool, whatever. Digital gold makes sense. How do I get started? What do you tell them?
So I never like giving this answer because, I'm not a great, I'm not a huge fan of Coinbase, but I tell them to download Coinbase. Coinbase.
Really? You say Coinbase?
It is the user. There's a reason why it's the number one app in the United States for crypto.
You think it's better than Cash App?
Well, you can't, like Cash App, it's just Bitcoin only, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I like people to have a better ability to invest in Ethereum. I think that Ethereum has got more upside than Bitcoin. And I try to drive newer investors who aren't already in a great financial spot. No, you start with Ethereum. It's got bigger upside, more potential. I believe it's going to pass Bitcoin one day. If you eventually want to get Bitcoin, well, guess what? You can use your Ethereum gains eventually and convert over to one Bitcoin if you want. But Ethereum is going to get you faster to one Bitcoin than just buying, fractions of a Bitcoin, at a time is going to get you, I believe. So I like Coinbase because it opens up the world of crypto because it's very user friendly. There's a lot of verification that makes people feel safe. There's FDIC insurance on there, which, it's kind of a joke, but we'll leave that alone for now. But there are next steps that are so natural for Coinbase that I can really start walking through someone, their crypto journey. You say, okay, well, you want to become a trader. Well, you're paying these really high fees on the Coinbase app is really high. If you want to dig a little bit deeper, now you can download Coinbase Pro and you can actually go, you still have the same familiarity with Coinbase, but now you get more technical charts. Now you can actually start figuring out, is this something I'm interested in? Do I want to be a trader? You get cheaper fees. Then from there, the next step is, well, there's also the Coinbase wallet where you actually own your private keys and you can move your crypto wherever you want. You have self-custody. So you can explain self-custody. You can explain the difference between Robinhood and PayPal and, the different layers of ownership that those offer compared to Coinbase, compared to having your own wallet with your own private keys, like the Coinbase wallet. It displays NFTs because let's face facts. A lot of people are trying to get into crypto right now because of NFTs, not necessarily because of crypto prices. And so because of that, the Coinbase wallet has got a really good way to display NFTs. It makes it easy for people to get the Ethereum address there. So I think for the bang for your buck, pushing people towards Coinbase, while it's kind of like, digital currency group, evil, crypto organization, the fact is, to me, it's the easiest track to walk people through an early crypto education.
10-year outlook, you bullish or bearish on NFTs?
Oh, I'm bullish on NFTs, but I do. Yeah, I really am.
Scam, bro.
You think so?
Absolutely.
No, it's not a scam. I think, look, we are still like right now where we're at with NFTs. I would really consider like kind of the ICO craze of 2017. Everybody had these great ideas and everybody got all these big investments and people were wanting to track bananas on the blockchain. Like that sounds, whoa, what a cool idea. But the only issue is that none of those places were ready to deliver. I mean, if you look today, Ethereum barely works today, and it works better than everything else by far. So we're so far away from where crypto and blockchain are going to be in the future that a lot of those ICO ideas were actually like way too early. Okay. You look at the .com bubble. I love bringing up this point. Pets.com and Webvan. Those were the two biggest companies I remember seeing commercials for that went bust. Webvan is Instacart today. It's not literally the same company, but the idea. Pets.com is Chewy. They blew up because they were not ready for the place we were with e-commerce yet. Yeah. A lot of those ICOs were very similar. We were not ready for a lot of these ideas when we can't even get the basic concepts of the biggest blockchains to work yet. So I think when it comes to NFTs, you compare that. Right now, we're at a place where everybody's just creating these generative trait NFTs. They're collectibles. They might as well be Pokemon cards or, it's knockoff. So like Pokemon cards, the knockoff version, so you don't get sued. And the collectible case for NFTs is just not that strong. Like, it's not gigantic. Only so many people want to trade cards.
Right.
Only so many people want to trade fine art. So what you look at here is the NFTs that are going to succeed. They're the ones that build the communities. They're the ones that have utility. You're going to have some blue chip NFTs, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks. Those are the only three. That's it. Right now for blue chips.
Same one more time, the top three.
Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Okay.
CryptoPunks.
CryptoPunks. Okay.
And Mutant Apes.
Mutant Apes.
Yeah, that's Bored Ape Yacht Club on Solana, basically. So,
okay.
And you could actually, there was a way you could turn your Bored Ape, you could mutate it into a mutant ape. I did that with one of mine. So it's kind of a cool process, but it's just got that Bored Ape branding with it. Those are the only three blue chippers, in my opinion. There are many,
but aren't there perks of owning a Bored Ape?
The utility, correct? Yes, you get to go to. Well, you got ApeCoin dropped to you. You get to go to exclusive parties when you're at conferences, which I could take or leave. That's not really that big of a deal to me. But there are a lot of things that community is developing, that Yuga Labs is developing, to continue to give utility to those. Now, I have a Bored Ape, and the only thing I've ever done with it is I mutated it into a mutant ape. So I've got both of those now, and I got a bunch of ApeCoin on the airdrop. Like, other than that, I'm not like, oh, how can I use this? What utility can I get from it? The reason is because the blue chippers don't have to have gigantic utility. They are like the Mike Trout rookie card series or whatever, they can get by just on their name alone, and because they were early and they've got big communities. Everything after that, until something else rises up to be a blue chip, it has to be utility. Now, let me explain to you something that we're doing. Okay. We are developing an NFT project, and what it's going to be is when you buy the NFT, it also, very similar to VCon, it acts as your ticket to the world's most amazing crypto event that we're doing, which I can't give you any details, but it's going to be amazing. So, and then within that, you've got rarities. You can get like different level of seating, different level of access to people that might be at the event. So that is a thing where people are going to buy it and it's going to trade up until the event. And after the event happens, then it kind of moved back into just being a collectible. And if you got out when the price was up, it was good. If you didn't, then maybe you just want to hold on to the artwork, whatever it might be. But even utility can run its course. We're not going to have NFTs that every year for the rest of your life, they're going to continue to innovate. You think some 27-year-old guy like living in an apartment in New York that designed some NFT project, like, you think when he's 50, he still wants to be providing you utility for your NFT you bought, 23 years ago? No, of course not. So it's really power punching this utility to give it a lot of value in the short term, some longer term value if it exists, if the collectible itself has, value of its artwork. But we're really kind of like moving. We are still selling NFTs short, though. This is just the current space of where we are with NFTs. They can be so much bigger. I've had so many conversations with VC companies, with startups that are trying to figure out ways to where they can turn areas of their business into NFTs. And this is when things get truly interesting. The digital ownership of blockchain allows us to do so much more with ownership than we've ever been able to do before. So if you think of your house, right? I've never done this before, but I know you can do it. There's a way that you can look up your address in your local city government, and you can go and you can find every single time it's been sold. You get all the information on every sale, what the costs are, but you got to go look for it. You got to find it. What if when you got your deed, the NFT of the ownership of the house is just included in that? It makes everything so much more accessible. And when you think about like our phones, for instance, like everything that was on our phone at one time sat on a desk, whether it was a calendar or whether it was your telephone or whether it was your planner. Now it comes all together on this little thing. Think about how much paperwork is in governments. You go to your DMV or something, they're whipping out like 74 pages of paper. All of that can be compacted down into very easily digestible, applications. And that's something we're also going to see with NFTs. So I really like to push people to the idea that you have you heard of the Johari window?
No.
Okay. So it's very simple concept. It's got 4 quadrants. In one quadrant, you have things that you know that you know. Mm-hmm. Then you have things that you don't know that you know. Mm-hmm. Then you have things you know that you don't know that you know. Mm-hmm. And then you have things you don't know that you don't know.
Right.
When it comes to NFT innovation and blockchain, that 4th window of, technically, I think it may be the 2nd one, but whatever it is, of things you don't know that you don't know, that's where all the innovation comes in. Like, you couldn't possibly imagine an iPhone when cell phones came out, right? Like a touch screen where you got everything that was on your desk in a phone. We didn't know that was coming. Like, people didn't want to move on from BlackBerries.
Right.
But when that innovation came, because of the technology that Apple was developing at the time,
right?
Like, it made things just go rapidly advanced to where now we can't live without this thing. When it comes to NFTs, once those types of things start happening to where you're like, oh, my insurance is an NFT. My individual policy is an NFT. My will is an NFT. And everything becomes much easier to operate without having all these archaic structures of middlemen and having to get the government involved. And I think that's really, like, medical records is another great example. If you had an NFT of your medical records, or your medical records were accessible by an NFT, all you have to do when you go to the doctor is give them a QR code. And then they have access to all your records. And you can, there's probably a way where you can go in and choose what they can and cannot see, instead of having to go fill out 79 forms every time you go sit at the doctor. You're like, last time I was here, I filled all these out too. So those are the things that I'm really interested in to see, like insurance, medical records. And like I said, we're having conversations with companies that are in these fields. They're this close. They're this close to figuring out answers to what this is going to look like. So far, with all the people I've been talking to, nobody's actually, like, really tangibly figured this out yet. But I can tell you there are a lot of people in the medical field that are on the hunt for trying to figure out how to incorporate NFTs to create new business models.
It just seems like especially with the medical stuff, it seems like NFT is just a fancy way of trying to solve that problem, whereas there's probably some technology out there that probably does it better.
Well, I would bring up the case of a little website called Trello. Have you ever used Trello?
Yeah.
Okay. I hate it. Okay? My business partner, TJ, he loves it. And when he came and he started working with me, that was one of the first things he did, was basically create organization in Trello for our company, so that every brand that we managed, every social media account, every video that we did was on there. And I would sit there like, this is way too complicated. There's no reason why we need all this extra stuff. I should have to go through 6 extra steps to get my script into the teleprompter. But now you fast forward and we're 60 employees in, we're probably going to be at 100 by the end of the year. And now all those systems that he put into place that I didn't care about, I didn't want to do, I didn't want to use, now all that incremental time shaving over 60 employees and making 100 videos a week total out of everything we do, it makes sense. So I understand what you're saying. Like, it seems like it might be a little too complicated, but once it's figured out and it's fine tuned, then I think it is going to make a lot more sense. Even if in the short term, because blockchain is so clunky, it feels too complicated.
So you said you're having an event. You said a crypto event?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll give you a discount on my speaking fee, man.
Okay. All right. You into XRP?
Oh, wait, what?
What?
You said, am I into XRP?
Yeah. Did I say that? Is that what I said?
I'm in the USD.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, we were one of the only channels last year telling people, take your profits and leave it in cash. Every Bitcoin YouTuber out there was saying, why would you want to be in cash? It makes no sense. So, well, things are cyclical, guys. The dollar isn't going to be down forever.
Yeah, I take my payments in two currencies. I'll do split payments Bitcoin. Yeah. I'll do split payment Ethereum too. I'll do split payment, but I need some of that. I need at least 50% of USD because there's things that I prefer to do with the money. You know, when you got the crypto,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, you send me the crypto. Now I got to exchange this for the crypto I really want, shit like
Yeah.
that. Give me the USD and I'll show you how to make that thing shake. Um, okay, that's dope. So yeah, so I'll be speaking at BitBoy's conference coming soon. The greatest crypto conference.
Let me tell you, man, it is going to be so. I am an overshare, and I like to tell people when I have these ideas, this thing we're doing is so big, and I can't talk about it yet. And it's dry. We're still waiting to sign some contracts for a venue for this. And it is going to be something like nobody in crypto has ever seen before. And it's not in the metaverse. It's in real life.
So bigger than the Bitcoin Miami conference?
Well, depends on how you look at that. Supposedly, the numbers are 30,000 people went to Miami for the Bitcoin conference, but the event would only hold 16,000, and it wasn't close to full ever. So I don't really know what the Bitcoin numbers are, but I believe at least on sales, we should be comparable to some of those numbers. But it's going to be. Well, people are going to look. They're going to be jealous that we did it. I'll tell you that.
I wouldn't measure the Bitcoin conference based upon attendance, although obviously you can, right? I'm thinking of it more as the experience I had, right?
Yeah.
Like they had, Steve Aoki, they had the stage outside.
Our experience is going to blow everything away you've ever seen, for sure. No, 0% question about that.
I was in Miami. I was in Miami at the Bitcoin conference. It was amazing, bro. They had the balls. You slide into the balls. Pause, no homo. Yeah, it was cool, man.
Yeah,
you gonna blow that away.
Yeah, we're gonna blow it away. And it's not a week event. It's a 1 day event. It'll be a 2 day event because we'll have like exhibit halls and meetups and some events the day before. But the day we actually have the event, no one has ever seen anything like what we're gonna do.
Why are you so confident?
I can't share. I cannot share. Why am I so confident? I'm so confident because
I'm trying to squeeze it out of you, man.
I know you're trying to. It's hard for me to put it into words, but I can just tell you, like, this is one of those things where people are sitting there, they're like, "What in the world is he talking about?" But once you see it, you'll get it. You'll say, "Oh, now I understand why I was so confident."
I'm excited. Can you tell us what city it's going to be in?
Las Vegas.
Oh, interesting. Sin City. That's where we're having HotepCon 2022 Las Vegas, August 11th to the 13th. Make sure you're there. Just to let you know that, out of my speaking fee do come a lot of great perks, Ben.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw my Bitcoin recap video, but I'm not one of those people who takes the speaking fee and pockets the whole thing. No, we're going to reinvest it, and we're going to really give you a return on your dollar with that. Although I wasn't speaking at the Bitcoin conference. Anyway.
They wouldn't let me speak either, so it's okay. We sponsored a Lego wall there. We paid like $50,000 to sponsor this. The Lego wall, there was the orange wall made of the Legos that said Bitcoin 2021. It was like 10 feet by 10 feet. Jessica Ragsy Crypto did it.
Okay.
And they wouldn't even let us say, it had to say sponsored by Ben Armstrong on the QR code. It couldn't even say BitBoy Crypto because the word crypto was in it. I paid $50,000 and they wouldn't even let me put my name on it. I was like, whatever. I did it to troll the Bitcoin people. Like, I had a big sponsorship there people didn't know about. I like that.
What is this? What do you mean troll? It seems like, okay, so succinctly put, there's probably a split, right? You got crypto and you got the maxis, right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. Well,
give us a picture of this swampy subculture of cryptoverse, because a noob coming in, they think, oh, Bitcoin, crypto, it's all the same thing, blah blah. But no, once you start dealing with communities, it gets very cultish. Can you talk? Can you walk us through that culture?
Yeah, tribalistic. That's a term often used to describe it. Well, here's the thing: Bitcoin was the first successful crypto. It's got a large following. The returns on investment, if you were to take the first estimated price of Bitcoin at 4 Bitcoin for a penny, it's infinite numbers of multiplication. And it's an infinite gain. Like I was looking it up on a site and it literally just said infinity. It wouldn't even put a percentage on it from 4 Bitcoin for a penny to where it is now. And there are people that made a lot of money with it. And a lot of these people, like if you're in the Bitcoin community that you've heard of, your Saifedean Amos's, your Andres Antonopoulos, not as much. He hasn't made as much as he could have made, but your Matt, God, I cannot remember his name, Matt Odell, all these guys, they're the early Bitcoin guys. They have bazillions of dollars. Some of these people are billionaires. Yeah. Some of these early Bitcoin folks are billionaires. Right. The average person cannot relate to that. And these billionaires cannot relate any longer to the average person. So they look at themselves like, hey, I saw this coming early and I got in on it and now I'm rich. And that was it, guys. That was one chance opportunity. Like, yeah, you can own a Bitcoin, but for you to get to where I'm at, no. These other coins that can get you there, no, that's a scam. That's a scam. So all they're going to do is talk to you about what a scam it is. I had a tweet the other day where I was making fun of Peter McCormick. Now, I don't dislike Peter McCormick. Be very clear about that. I actually find him kind of endearing. But he had a tweet about the hex and the hex chart, and it was down 85%. And because the chart was down 85%, he's talking about what a scam. That's what a Ponzi scheme looks like. So, of course, I had the idea to go to CoinMarketCap, screenshot Bitcoin from the last 8 months, and instead of just scratch out Bitcoin and write hex above it and see what happens when I post that chart. It's almost the exact same. Bitcoin goes down 85% every 4 years traditionally. Yeah. So for these maximalists to have this kind of tunnel vision to where they can't even say or can't even see that the things they pick apart other coins for, Bitcoin does the same thing. Bitcoin's so volatile. That's why a lot of people don't want to invest in it. Being early in Bitcoin would have been fantastic for people, but they missed it. To buy a Bitcoin today at $28,000 in a recession, that's way more money than most people can afford. That's way more money than most people have in savings, okay? The world of crypto, if you think of Bitcoin as kind of the king, you have Ethereum that sits right up under it. I believe it'll pass Bitcoin one day, and then you have all the rest of the altcoins. To me, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're the only two that have proven themselves that they are going to be around. So a lot of people will call Ethereum an altcoin. I don't call Ethereum an altcoin. Ethereum is Ethereum. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Everything else are altcoins. Once something becomes a proven network that's going to be around for a long time, then I think it moves out of that kind of speculative range of where you're just saying like, I'm just putting money in this because I think the price is going to go up, which is what most people do in crypto. The Bitcoin maximalists, they made a lot of money. They're very rich. They hate when people get opportunities to make money outside of the way that they did it. They become so tunnel visioned that if you don't, I literally was doing a debate on Bitcoin Magazine with this guy. I can't remember his name. And I literally was like, wait. So what you're telling me is like, you think that if someone thinks differently than you, they're wrong and that they have no right to make money in crypto. He said, yes, absolutely. That's what I believe 100%. I said, bro, you sound like Hitler. Like I literally said that on the interview. I said, if people don't think exactly like you do in every way, shape, and form, then they don't get to join your cult. And he basically agreed with that. He was like, it doesn't matter what someone does out there, as long as they agree with me that Bitcoin is the pinnacle of human assets and civilization, then they're cool with me. Yeah. If not, they're dead to me and they should be poor. They deserve to be poor. That mindset, that's like top of the French, right before the French Revolution mindset, where people are hurting out there and you're mocking them and you're saying, look at all the stuff that I got because I did it I did it better. Bitcoin is so great. And you got all these people out there that do not agree with that. And they're never going to be able to get rich with Bitcoin because they're not rich. They're normal people. They're people that live paycheck to paycheck or have maybe a few $1,000s saved up. Crypto in general is much bigger than just Bitcoin. The Bitcoin maximalists have become the very thing that they hate, that they started out hating, which was they didn't like the bailouts. They didn't like the big banks. They liked, financial responsibility. They wanted to hold the government accountable. You fast forward to today, and they don't want people to have free thinking. It's either you agree with them or you're not in the club and you're an idiot. You're low IQ. You deserve to be poor if you don't do things exactly the way that we do it. And it's like, isn't that the banking mentality? Like that's the centralized banking mentality that we're setting out to get away with, to get rid of. If you don't do it our way, then, we're going to crush, anything that you do. That's what central banks do. So, to me, to be such like beacons of freedom, right, which Bitcoin's supposed to be, these maximalists represent so much of the opposite of that. And they also, the way that they can't, like I think of Tesla, right? I'm not an Elon Musk fan. People know that. I'm not an electric car fan. Okay. But if you look at Tesla, not the people that actually created it, they, stole it from, but if you look at Tesla, they've been given the ability from the government to innovate over time to create more efficient vehicles that are more environmentally friendly. The Bitcoin maximalist cannot rationalize in their brain that people new to crypto need to go through a journey to maybe get to their way of thinking. Like maybe you've got to go and invest in some altcoins and take some bad losses to sit back and say like, okay, well, this was a little risky and, I knew it was kind of a long shot, but it lost. Maybe I should go back to what's safer and what already works and the Bitcoin is doing well. People have got to go through that journey. And the toxic maximalist, they hate people starting on that journey. If you don't start with them, you're against them and they'll come after you forever. And to me, it's just really disgusting. The Bitcoin maximalists are the scourge of this space, in my opinion.
The scourge. Bitcoin maxis are the scourge of this space. Oh, man. Jesus. So it's beef.
It is for sure. It is for sure. Because I just can't stand the way they treat normal people out there. That if you're not elite like them, if you didn't make Bitcoin early, you're not in the club. You're not allowed in the club. That's exactly the gatekeeping mentality that we're trying to reverse. And yet they're taking it on, which kind of begs the question, like, are we just doomed as mankind? Like we'll always, no matter what kind of technology and what kind of, ability we're given, we're always going to devolve back into, a centralized way of thinking to where kind of evil runs rampant. Like evil always will take over good at some point. It makes me wonder because the ideals of Bitcoin are so pure and so great. And the maximalists have even found a way to, pervert those. So, let's just make some money with crypto, at least while we're here,
So the pushback that they're going to say is, oh, well, BitBoy's shilling altcoins and he's getting people wrecked and all this stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
How do you respond to that? Because it seems to be a little bit of validity to those accusations. You do push coins, you do speculate, you do trade. So there's at least some potential to get wrecked.
Well, yeah, but if I only did it with Bitcoin, then that means that if I never talked about an altcoin on this channel, over 70% of people who bought Bitcoin are underwater right now. 70%. 70% of people who bought Bitcoin are underwater right now. So am I going to go after all the maximalists for saying that like, oh, Bitcoin is the end all be all? Everybody's underwater right now. It comes in waves and it comes in cycles. And even if you bought Ethereum, at $1,400 back in 2018, if you held it, guess what? People could have killed you for the whole bear market saying, what an idiot talking about Ethereum. And then it comes back and it proves its value. The important thing for me as a content creator that's grown immensely is that over time, I've weeded out the amount of coins that we talk about. So right now, especially in a bear market, we pretty much only talk about XRP, Cardano, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Polkadot, speculatively, maybe Chainlink is one that, has been around for a while. The amount that we talk about has shrunk because through this last cycle, like it's become even more apparent that you can make money with almost any coin in a bull run, but are you going to be able to pick the winners that are going to be able to stay long-term? And that's what we want our audience doing. During the 2020 DeFi summer, people could speculate on coins that were low value and some went way up. They almost all went way up at some point. Some collapsed and people made a lot of money during that time. And they had money to put in some of the other altcoins that would do very well in the last market. Right now in a bear market, it doesn't make sense. Like we're not going to talk about these speculative coins because nothing is going to pump for 2 years, outside of something something unique in the Bitcoin cycle that we haven't seen before, which is possible, but it would be really dumb right now to tell people to go buy all these other coins. But with Ethereum, it does make sense. We have the ETH merge coming up potentially this year. That could be some good short-term action for Ethereum. But look, here's, you know this as well as anybody. People are just going to say whatever they want to say, and they're going to criticize you, and they're going to troll you. And, you know, somebody warned me a long time ago in this space, a big YouTuber. They said, bro, you're growing very fast. You need to slow down. I said, what? They said, you do not want to be the top dog in this space. You do not want to be the top dog in this space. People will come for your head. And I told him, I'm built for it. Tell them to come at me, you know? So I wear the crown, and I don't, you know, I'll have to give it up one day. I mean, there's a bigger channel over in the UK with a bunch of Indian subscribers, but, you know, in terms of America right now, you know, we're still the top game over here, and we're going to continue to make the most innovative. Yeah. In America for sure.
What, on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Altcoin Daily's number 2. We like Altcoin Daily, and we have great relationships with almost every, you know, big YouTuber. But the whole thing is they're going to come after you. They're going to call you a shiller. Yeah. Look, we that's why in January, you know, we decided we were going to do 0 sponsored videos. We don't do any sponsored content at all. We don't do any, you know, no social media posts that are sponsored. Nobody can pay to get on this channel ever again. Like that's what we want to do. We got to a certain spot where, you know, I've got a big company. It costs a lot of money to run this company. But we feel like the overall benefit of being able to be 100% unbiased and be able for that to be provable that we're unbiased. We just thought that that's a better message for the community. Is going to help us grow down the road. And we're not, you know, I'm not here for a quick buck. You know, if I was here for a quick buck, I'd be gone already. I want to be known as somebody that pushed blockchain, pushed crypto forward into the future. We're working on right now a plan for sponsoring 3 bills in different states. For financial inclusion involving crypto and accredited investing. I've been to the State House in Sacramento. I've been to the State House in Austin, talk blockchain innovation with you know, their technology committees. I deeply care about where crypto goes. And so people can look back and they say, oh, he did a sponsored video for $6,000, you know, 2 years ago. Well, yeah, sure, I did. But we try to give honest information, and we had a research team that rigorously vetted everything. And even still, it wasn't perfect. You know, there were some times where there were some things that we were lied to about. But going forward, the further that I move into this world where we're pushing, you know, the kind of the political side of crypto and trying to get regulation the right way, you know, those trolls and the people that always say everybody shills and blah, 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 they'll go away. You know, 2 or 3 years from now, we haven't done a sponsored video in that long. Like, you know, it's my cross to bear for now, you know, and certainly there were some things that we promoted that, you know, didn't turn out to do well like we thought that they would. And, you know, we kind of had some egg on our face on some of that, which was always done like, honestly, like, do you think I intended for people to lose money? I lost money on a lot of those investments. And it's one of those things where they're going to always try to find that one little crack in your armor and try to get in there and penetrate it and get you to a place where you can't function. But, you know, I got picked on in the 6th grade. These people on Twitter can't really do anything to
me. Where are we as far as this bear cycle? I mean, Democrats have pretty much completely turned the economy to shit. You know, I say if you could make it through Biden's America, you could make it anywhere. When do you think this recession is going to start to recover? When is the economy going to recover? What's your estimate? You said 2 years earlier. That's
to get to all-time highs again.
Right.
So, you know, the bottom of the bear market, you got to start with. You got to start, where's the bottom? And like I said, we've been generally looking from an intellectually honest standpoint. I cannot tell you that I believe Bitcoin's going to $10,300, even though history suggested it is, and it's directly on track for it. And we've got massive macroeconomic issues that could seem to push it down much further. I don't think it's going to go that low. I don't think we got the blow off top that we've had previously. So we're not going to get the bottom that we saw previously. I'm looking somewhere between, you know, $20,000 and $22,000, somewhere $20,000 to $24,000, definitely in that range. I would make a new low. It would also kind of, you know, make some of the bears happy if it gets down close to that action. We've never seen Bitcoin to return to a previous all-time high from a 4-year cycle. So to go below 20K would actually be unprecedented. So we're kind of at the corner of some unprecedented things, you know, so something's going to give one way or the other. But what we've seen the last two bear markets is we have seen the bottom about 1 year to 14 months after the top. Top was in November 12th, I believe. You fast forward, you look at today or you look at this year. Okay, well, what's going on in November this year? Midterm elections. The last two bear markets, the midterm elections happened right before the final pushdown. So Bitcoin bottomed within 3 to 5 weeks after the midterm elections in 2014 and 2018. Just like you said, right? Like, and I try not to get, too political with things. I try to stay agnostic, even though everybody probably knows which way I lean. Mm-hmm. But the idea is that it doesn't matter who's in power right now in terms of party. What matters is whatever party is in power during economic collapse will lose. Like they will get voted out. Right. So you can already see what's going to happen. The Republicans are most likely going to crush the Democrats in this election unless the economy suddenly, shoots off the other way or something crazy happens that we don't see coming. As of this point, there's no way with tanking economy like we have right now that the people who are in power are going to stay in power. So you can kind of look and see how this could shape up to be a bottom after the midterms. Because we do know in general, even though I prefer crypto to be kind of politically agnostic, it's turning into a left-right issue. And we try to make sure that people understand, like, crypto doesn't care if you're Republican or Democrat. Like, don't let the politicians divide us on what this is. I can make a great argument. Crypto is phenomenal for Democrats. I can make a great argument. Crypto is phenomenal for Republicans. It's a win-win. There's not a loss there. And so when you think about it in terms of that, Republicans have shown more affinity to have a positive outlook on the innovation of blockchain and to letting it run and letting it, what can we get out of this? How can we create better businesses? How can we create new companies that bring in higher GDP and stuff like that? And so I think what we're going to see is when this midterm election happens, Republicans are going to win back House and the Senate, I believe. And that's without me knowing, I don't even know who's running versus who. None of that matters. What matters is the economy. And so once that happens, all of a sudden, as you move towards January, when they get, inaugurated into their positions or they take office, however you want to say that, more and more of the stifling of the regulation is going to start moving to the back. And what can we do that's positive for crypto regulation is going to move forward. And so by the end of November, beginning of December, middle of December, that's when we think there's going to be a bottom. Finally, something to reverse. And if you look, there's a Fed meeting. There's a Fed meeting, I think it's December 12th and 13th. Maybe it's the 9th. It's somewhere in the second week of December. That is supposed to be the first Fed meeting where we're not going to have a rate hike. That's more of like a celebration of, look, we raised all the rates and now inflation's down a 0.25%. We're going the right way. That can also line up with signifying a bottom, like things are in the right direction now. When you fast forward to what a bull market is going to look like, it's a little more complicated. Well, not complicated. It just isn't as fun to hear. All-time highs looking like middle of December, 2025. That's a long road from here. December 2025. Is that the date? Or is it 2024? 2024, I think is when we would be looking December. So the halving would occur earlier that year. By the end of that year, we should be seeing Bitcoin starting to hit all-time highs. Now, projections for how high Bitcoin will go in the next cycle, man, that is very confusing because we thought it was going to go much higher than it did this last one. And so we've always seen diminished returns for Bitcoin cycle over cycle. It went from 18x in 2017 to 3.5x in 2021. So does that mean we're going to see that get broken and it could actually start trending back the other way? Maybe we get a 7x for Bitcoin, and that's a 7x from the previous all-time high, or something like that. That didn't sound right. 7x would be way too high. I mean, really, if we got a 3.5x from 70,000, I mean, if we just get a 4x, that would put it at almost $300,000, So are we going to see that diminishing return kind of like come back and we actually get a higher return? Or are we going to see basically a 5, 6 drawdown? What is 1 out of 6? Like 12, 13, 14, 15, about 15. $15,000 higher than we saw in the last cycle would kind of be what the diminishing returns, if it followed the same progression, would be, which would put Bitcoin at like $85,000, not even getting to $100,000 in the next cycle. So it's just one of these things where we're really crunching numbers and looking at a lot of different, I know I did some of my moon math in my brain there, but we really spent a lot of time looking at the charts and looking at kind of the macro picture of the Bitcoin cycles, what they've done before, how can we kind of average the Bitcoin cycles together and spit out realistic numbers that still get people excited, but that are realistic. Over the last year, we certainly learned, like, I was positive Bitcoin was going to $100,000. I was positive. I mean, I would have bet everything on it. And it didn't happen. And that to me was number one, we got so much flack for it, deservedly so. I was too confident. But it's definitely led me in a direction of what we want to do is give people the numbers, show them kind of how we've come to realistic predictions, but then it's up to you to decide whether that's correct or whether you found something else that can give you more information to make you more confident of another number. We're just showing people the path that we think traditionally Bitcoin should continue on. And then, making their own investments is up to them. But once again, if you go buy a Bitcoin at $28,000, it's always going to be worth one Bitcoin. So however price Bitcoin goes to is how much money you're going to have. A lot better opportunity with, some of the other top tier altcoins to be able to make some good gains.
Absolutely. Shout out to Crypto Wendy Yo in the chat. Wendy Yo is in the building. Mario Lopez, thank you for the super chat. He said we're behind on tech because the money's been corrupted. Read fiat standard to find how money affects every facet of our lives. Great conversation, bro, man. Yeah, hell yeah. It's great having you on Sharpe Conversations on this wonderful Friday night. Gonna have you back again. There's so much more we have to discuss that we didn't get into tonight. But I appreciate you for coming in, man.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Make sure y'all follow Ben. I have his links in the description box below, and I'm sure I'll get this up on Spotify, Apple, and SoundCloud ASAP for your listening pleasure, for the RSS homies. I'm out of here. Be safe. Hotep and Bill.